Over the past week, we've had, even for America, a lot of tragic high-profile shootings. Of course, multiple shootings of cops of either unarmed or unarmed black males who weren't engaged in any criminal activity, those who were totally legally allowed to carry their guns. So there were that. That happens in America every week. That's something that we have to live with, unfortunately, until we force change. But also, getting a little bit more press because it is a little bit more rare, the shooting of multiple cops, the killing of 5 cops in Dallas, which, of course, stands out even in America. Now, does that change the fundamental fact that being a cop in America is generally, outside of Dallas last week, a fairly safe thing to do? No, it doesn't change that. It doesn't change the fact that under Obama, per year, cops die at way lower numbers than under previous presidents, leading me to believe that George W. Bush and especially Reagan were definitely leading a war on the police. It doesn't change any of that, but it's a tragedy in its own right for the families of those cops, for the coworkers of the cops, people who knew them. It's a tragedy. And I've been somewhat restrained in my response to it because it's just too much at a certain point. There's just too much death, too much suffering, too much unnecessary violence. In the case of the crazy guy that shot the cops, and the cops that are so consumed with fear, their implicit internal biases against certain people based on physical appearance and what they think about them, that they would be so scared that they have to kill the thing they see. It's too much. But other people have been a little bit more open in their responses, and I'm interested in how the presidential candidates have been responding to these shootings, how they plan to either let the status quo continue or try to respond to the great deal of violence that justifiably many Americans are incredibly concerned about in a way that in previous years they really hadn't been. And so first, perhaps more importantly, Donald Trump. When Donald Trump talks about an issue or doesn't talk about an issue, it's in some ways more consequential than when Hillary Clinton does, because he will be covered more. And also because of his the likelihood that he's going to make some sort of major faux pas. Now, interestingly, in this area, look, I don't give Donald Trump credit very often, and I have no interest in giving Donald Trump credit. But in his response to the Dallas shooting, he gets as close as he really ever does to deserving credit. Because Donald Trump, while he talked about a war on police and he focused mainly on needing to protect the police, he also acknowledged totally needless, pervasive violence against racial minorities in this country. It's amazing that he even acknowledges it. It's that, one time per month when he says something reasonable. And I can't not acknowledge that he hasn't really taken this thing and run with it. Now, there are a lot of people who are. There are politicians on the right and definitely members of the media on the right who, as I've said in other videos, couldn't wait to start recording videos about how terrible Black Lives Matter is, how terrible black people are. They cleaned up the remnants of the orgasm they had after seeing these cops die, and then started recording terrible racist videos. And Trump could have, based on some of the things he said about racial minorities, he could have just taken this and tried to whip white people up into an angry anti-black frenzy, and I don't really think that he did that. Now, in terms of what he would actually do going forward, and look, people won't call it like it is, even though he's supposed to be a straight shooter, he is for maintaining the status quo. Okay, he thinks that the cops need to be protected, we need to stand with the cops. Okay, we always stand with the cops. Nobody, like, the idea that Blue Lives Matter, that needs to be said, no, the cops have about as much backing popularly, socially, institutionally, politically, any group in society, perhaps, other than maybe rich Americans. And so the idea that they need to be especially protected is sort of ridiculous. But no, he's not proposing that I've seen any massive changes to the way police departments are run or how the training is run. I mean, hopefully, based on his apparent, at least somewhat concern for the violence, he would do something. But at the very least, he's being sort of reasonable in his rhetoric. Now, Hillary Clinton is going to at least try to pitch herself as being on the left of Trump on this issue. And look, understandably, while Black Lives Matter as a movement and its leaders aren't rallying around Hillary Clinton, the majority of Democratic black politicians are supporting her, and so they certainly seem to think she's going to do something to fix these problems. And her rhetoric has been on the side of the spectrum of right. I mean, look, she's focusing more than Trump is on the innocent non-cop victims of the shootings that we've seen, both historically and recently. And she's proposed some changes to training and stuff like that. The need to make police departments more look a little bit more like the people they're policing, which is, of course, a good change. It's something she's been talking about it for a couple years, and so I guess we have some reason to believe that she would make some of these changes. I personally wish that Bernie Sanders' suite of policy changes would go into effect, because when Campaign Zero came out last year, some of the suggestions about police reform, I mean, he adopted most of those positions. Now, if you didn't know that, I don't blame you, because he got no credit for it. And even till today, people are saying that he has done absolutely nothing to address the legitimate concerns of African Americans, which I find to be ridiculous, but that's where we're at. And so, look, both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are being more measured in their rhetoric on this issue than others in the media, and certainly than they are on other issues, which is really unfortunate. It's an improvement for Trump, but it's not an improvement for Clinton. I mean, look, this is an opportunity where America might be willing to make some changes, and it's certainly an opportunity where there are activists who are pushing for change. And so for her to do slightly more than give lip service to the movement, that's a disappointment. And I think it's a lost opportunity. I think that you could have your cake and eat it too if you were to propose a package of reforms to the way police departments are run and led, the oversight for them, how cops are trained, how escalation and de-escalation are emphasized. Because obviously the training in America is very different than the training in other countries where we see fewer needless killings. And then do that and pitch it as being to serve two purposes. One, to address the concerns of most predominantly today African Americans, but this violence does affect all Americans as well, and so we would all benefit. But also to help cops get back to the position they once held of being amongst the most respected members of any society, to get them to earn back the respect that they should have, that they need to have to do their jobs. And until these changes are made, they're not going to have that respect, and they're going to have a very difficult time ever getting it back, as long as people have very good reason to distrust them based on the things that they're seeing. And so if you pitch the platform of changes as that, I think that you could address the concerns of independent or conservative leading whites who aren't particularly concerned about the civilian brutality as much as the activists. And you could also tell the activists that there is going to be actual change. It's not just rhetoric. We're going to change things. Is she going to do that? I guess we'll see.